Penguins bolts. It's the Pens and the Bolts from PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What happened between the Pens and the Bolts on Hockey Fights Cancer Night in Pittsburgh? Plus, Jake Guentzel returns. It's time to talk Pens and Bolts on this edition of Penguins Postgame. I am Scott McGregor, your host of the program. And with that, let's get started. Hello. You're locked in to Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, shoot, he scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins Postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Penguins Postgame. My name is Scott McGregor. I am your host of the program. You can follow me on X or Twitter. I still call it Twitter. You can call it X if you want to call it that. At Scott McGregor 3. On Threads at SMC _ 87 _. Same for my Instagram. You can follow the podcast on Facebook by searching Sports for Beginners. And you can also check out the show on Discord. We'll have a link in our description of the episode for that. But if you would like to get in good standing rather, with our Discord server and get in on all the action that we bring up in our Discord server that we're going to talk about in a little bit, please head over to Penguins Post-Game Show Interactions, where you can give us your 3 stars of the game, your shake of the game, your play of the game, and much more. Alrighty, with that being said, let's jump right in to this game. And I want to let everyone know that we wish everyone all the best in their recovery against cancer. And before we get down to business with the head coaches and the goaltending matchup, which is how we normally open the program, I want to ask you, and this will be in our Discord, and it might end up on the website, but it will definitely be in the Discord, and it will definitely be on the social medias. I want to ask you, if you are a cancer survivor, who do you stand for? Or rather, who do you fight for? And for hockey fans who go to, or rather tune in to a hockey game for their favorite hockey club on a night like this, Hockey Fights Cancer Night, which is what the Penguins honored in their game on Tuesday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which are the topic of conversation for today's show. I'd like to let you guys know that, or no, I would love to know from the listeners, especially those listening on audio, and should the video versions of these shows end up on the air and end up on YouTube, I would love to know from each and every one of you. I would love to know. I would love to know, who do you fight for? Who do you stand for in the fight against cancer? With that said, let's get down to talking about the hockey game. And let's start, as we always do, with the head coaches and the goaltenders. As much as I would love to get into our goaltenders that backed up, we're going to stick to the goaltenders who had gotten the start for the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Pittsburgh Penguins, the two teams behind me. Here, as we record this on a Zoom, we are trying our best to utilize Riverside, but that will be when we do live streams, and we'll see if we can do that in the future. I'll be in contact with my friend Allie to see if we can get that running. But without further delay, let's get to it. Head coaches, as always, are John Cooper for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Mike Sullivan is the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So he's lived to see the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll see where the Penguins go the rest of the way. I don't believe Mike Sullivan will be fired, but if he does get fired at some point, I'm thinking it's probably going to be the off season if the Penguins wind up missing the playoffs. But we'll see where the Penguins' heads are at and the front office is at this point in time as the season goes on. Only one change in the lineup for the Penguins in Tuesday night's contest, and that was who was in goal. Instead of Alex Nedeljkovic starting for the Pittsburgh Penguins in net, Mike Sullivan decided to go to number 35, Tristan Jarry. So Jarry gets the start for the Penguins. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ice, John Cooper will counter with Andrei Vasilevsky. Andrei Vasilevsky is going to get the start in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning. His backup, even though we mentioned Alex Nedeljkovic, who, by the way, was the backup in this game. Nedeljkovic was the starter in the game against the Sharks, but Jonas Johansson is his backup opponent on the other side of the ice, and Jonas Johansson, the backup to Andrei Vasilevsky. The backup to Tristan Jarry is Alex Nedeljkovic. All right. With that being said, lots to get into. I do want to do the game puck of the game in this show. But if we don't get an opportunity to do so, I at least want to get out the 3 stars of the game. Perhaps we'll take a look at Tuesday's action. And I also want to get into breaking down this hockey game, which is what we're going to do next on Penguins postgame. But we're going to do things a little bit differently than we have done in the past. We're going to start breaking down the game by going by who scored in what period, who got an assist in that period, and also wrap things up before we get to the game stats with who took a penalty in this game in said period. First period, second period, third period, overtime period, you name it. It's what I would like to call scorers and penalty takers. So we're going to get into that. And this also means we won't necessarily give you the time of when the person scored the goal. We won't give you that time. But you know what? That actually makes it more fun. So we will do that. And we'll do that all right after a quick word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. Take a word from Sienna T Radio and back with more Penguins postgame in just a moment. Stay with us.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Jake Guentzel returned to Pittsburgh since being traded last year. In the off season, he was traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I believe. I gotta try to remember how things went down with Jake Guentzel. But all that aside, Jake Guentzel is now a Tampa Bay Lightning member. He is now a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And how did he become a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning? Well, okay, let's start with that before we get into this game, because this is our this is the breakdown part of the game. So how did this happen? Well, let's go to the notable transaction, shall we? He was traded to Carolina, who went on to win. No, sorry, they did not go on to win the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup was won by the Florida Panthers. He was traded to Carolina from Pittsburgh with Ty Smith for players Michael Bunting, Vasily Pomarov, Vili Kovyniemi, Cruz Luces, and a conditional first-round pick in the 2024 NHL draft, as well as a conditional fifth-round pick in 2024 on March 7th, 2024. Last year, at the end of last season, I should say, during the offseason, he was traded to Tampa Bay by Carolina for a third-round pick in the 2025 NHL draft on June 30th, 2024. So there we go. We now know how Jake became a Lightning. We now know how Jake Guentzel became a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jake Guentzel played for Pittsburgh from 2016, from the 2016-2017 season until the 2023-2024 season, where he split with Pittsburgh and Carolina. He was then traded to Tampa Bay in the offseason, which meant this is now Jake Guentzel's team in Tampa Bay. All right, time to get down to business. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to bring you the action from Pittsburgh. And let's start our scoring. Let's start the scoring here. Hopefully I have my video on here. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's show the meeting here. There we go. There we go. And now we're going to show the screen here. There we go. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's do it. We're starting off with our scorers. And the first team to score would be Pittsburgh off the stick of Jesse Puljujarvi. Jesse Puljujarvi, the man to get things started for the Penguins with his third goal of the season, 8th assist of the season for Marcus Pettersson, and Sam Poulin picks up his first assist of the season. That is also, I believe, the second NHL point in Sam Poulin's career. Perhaps I am wrong. Perhaps I am wrong. But we'll figure out who's right, who's wrong in a little bit, or in another episode of this edition of Penguins Postgame or on Sports for Beginners. All right. Moving on. Of course, the time of the goal for Jesse Puljujarvi, 12 minutes and 5 seconds. That's 12:05. 12 minutes and 5 seconds. After 1, Penguins 1, Holt 0. The Lightning still without a score after 20 minutes. And the Penguins have a 1-goal lead. The Lightning take a costly penalty in the second period, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But continuing on with our scores, in the second period, those who scored, Rickard Rakell makes this penalty taken by the Lightning pay. And he picks up his 7th goal of the season, a PPG for PGH. Those are the short form for power play goal. And Pittsburgh. For Pittsburgh, the short form is PGH. And for power play goal, the short form is PPG. Moving on, Sidney Crosby picks up his 13th assist of the season. Matt Grzelcyk picking up his 8th assist of the season on the Rickard Rakell goal. A power play goal for Pittsburgh. And their only power play goal of the game. After 40 minutes, the Penguins are out in front by 2 goals. It's a 2-goal lead for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 2, Tampa Bay still without a score, 0. Pittsburgh 2, Tampa Bay 0. In the regulation time period, Braden Point, who is coming back from injury, as he was eligible to return after missing 6 games due to injury, I believe. He says, okay, enough of that. We're not San Jose, and we certainly are not the Columbus Blue Jackets. We are definitely not a team that you're going to be able to shut out. But Braden says, okay, that's enough. And he puts the Bolts on the board, cuts the Penguins' deficit of a 2-goal lead to a 1-goal lead with his 9th goal of the season. Ryan McDonagh on the assist. For McDonagh, it's his 6th assist of the season. And we see Darren Radish pick up his 3rd assist of the season and 1st of the game. Time of the Rickard Rakell goal, I forgot to mention that before we moved into the 3rd period. Scorers, that is. That was at 13 minutes and 5 seconds. 13:05. 13 minutes and 5 seconds. So Rickard Rakell scores on the power play at 13 minutes and 5 seconds. The goal by Jesse Puljujarvi came in at 12 minutes and 5 seconds into the 1st period. However, it only took Braden Point in the 3rd period 5 minutes and 41 seconds to get into the lead. I should say cut into the lead. for Pittsburgh. Now the Tampa Bay Lightning are on the board. It's 2-1 Pittsburgh. Sixth assist of the season for Ryan McDonough. And Darren Radish with his third assist of the game, but his first of the game. He had 2 assists in this game. His second one came on the next goal that ties this game up and forces overtime off the stick of Anthony Cirelli, his 5th goal of the season. Anthony Cirelli, his, okay, that's supposed to be saying a C, but you know what? That's okay. Anthony Cirelli picks up Anthony Cirelli. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Anthony Cirelli. There we go. Anthony Cirelli. There we go. Okay. I had that right. Anthony Cirelli. Anthony Cirelli. Okay. Okay. I had it. But Anthony, if I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. Anyways, Anthony Cirelli picks up his 5th goal of the season. Darren Radish picking up his 4th assist of the season. 2nd assist of the evening. 4th of the season. And speaking of 13 assists on the season, Victor Hedman picks up his 13th assist of the season. Time of the goal, 12 minutes and 49 seconds in. We need overtime after 60 minutes. It's the Penguins 2 and the Lightning 2. All square at 2 goals apiece. 4 goals in this contest. Who's going to get goal number 5? We'll find out in overtime because Braden Point and the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as, I guess, the Pittsburgh Penguins, did not want to play a shootout. Especially for the Penguins, when you just played a shootout just a few nights ago on a Saturday night in Pittsburgh. So we have extra hockey in Pittsburgh, and 3 minutes and 58 seconds in, Braden Point says, no shootout needed. I'm going to go ahead and end this game. And that's exactly what he does. He goes for his 2nd goal of the night, 10th goal of the season. And JJ Moser on the assist. His 5th of the season. Connor Geekie picking up his 2nd assist of the season. But it would be Braden Point's 2nd goal of the game and his 10th goal of the season that would be known as the GWG in OT. Which is short for overtime. All right. Who took a penalty in this game? Stay close. because we're going to talk about that in just a moment when Penguins postgame continues on Sports for Beginners. And every Wednesday off day this season on the ice and behind the benches. Back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. All right, so the game scorers are Jesse Puljujarvi, Brian Rust, not Brian Rust, Ricard Raquel, Braden Point, and Anthony Cirelli, who score once in this game, but Point also scored twice. So Point scored one more time, which gave us the game winner, the GWG in OT. To make up our final score, Penguins 2, Lightning 3. The Lightning defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 in Pittsburgh in their first of two meetings in the area we know as PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. Game stats, 3 stars, Jake of the game still to come, along with what's next for Pittsburgh, what's next for Tampa Bay. All that still to come in a couple of moments' time. The game puck of the game, time permitting. We'll see if we can get that in. If not, we'll just do our shake of the game. But our play of the game and 3 stars coming up in just a few minutes. First, let's wrap this up with the takers of penalties. This is the part of our game breakdown where we talk about who took a penalty in this game. And for the Penguins, in the first period, they took 2 penalties. One to Brian Rust. His penalty came at 8 minutes and 37 seconds in. Slashing against Nikita Kucherov was the call on Brian Rust. a 2-minute minor for Brian Rust on slashing. He slashed Nikita Kucherov, and Kucherov was the recipient of the slash by Brian Rust. So Rust would go to the box for 2 minutes at 8 minutes and 37 seconds in to the game. The Tampa Bay Lightning go to the game's first power play of the evening. Jack St. Ivany goes a few minutes later. That's Jack St. Ivany. He goes to the box a few minutes later at 15 minutes and 35 seconds. This one is a 2-minute minor for hooking, and the recipient of the hooking penalty that Jack St. Ivany took was Brandon Hagel. Brandon Hagel, the recipient of the hook from Jack St. Ivany. And that would mean that the Penguins would get the game's first 2 penalties. And that would mean that the penalty kill would belong to the Penguins for the first period of play. It would go to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the second period of play, which we're going to get to in just a second. But this means that the first 2 power plays of the game would go to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And those are brought to you by on the Penguins radio network. Those are brought to you by, of course, we are not sponsored by any of that, but those are brought to you by as the Penguins penalty kill. They are brought to you by number 1 Copper, or they are brought to you by, okay, maybe they're not brought to you by number 1 Copper, which is Go One Better, but they were on the Copper's penalty kill for the first couple of minutes of the game. Managed to score 1 goal in the first period, 1 goal in the second period, and we're about to get into where that second goal came in and who was responsible for the penalty that was, at least for me, costly for the Lightning, because the Penguins scored on that power play opportunity. In the second period, the Lightning had the only penalties of the period. First one went to Luke Glennington for interference against Jack St. Ivany. Jack St. Ivany is the recipient of a interference call by Luke Glennington. Luke Glennington is the recipient of an interference call, 2 minutes for interference to Luke Glenning. Luke Glennington. That's Luke Glennington. If I pronounced your last name wrong there, Luke, I apologize. The next penalty, which was taken or charged to Tampa Bay, but given by Penguins captain Sidney Crosby, because Crosby was the recipient of this, was that penalty that Thomas, and I'm pretty sure hockey fans, even if you check out the NFL, I'm pretty sure you don't like this call. Gage Goncalves is the recipient of a 2-minute minor for holding this. It's a holding penalty against Gage Goncalves. Gage Goncalves. Holding is the penalty against Gage Goncalves. Calves. Okay. If I pronounce the name wrong, I apologize. But anyways, we'll just say GG for short. GG is getting a 2-minute minor for holding the stick against Sidney Crosby. At 16 minutes and 29 seconds in, 11 minutes and 39 seconds in, this was, of course, when the Penguins scored on the power play a few minutes later. That went to Luke Glendenning. Luke Glendenning. Oh, there we go. Luke Glendenning. There we go. That's what I want. Second time's charm. Luke Glendenning got the call on interference against Jack St. Ivany. But the Penguins capitalize on just that penalty. They are unable to capitalize on the GG holding call. And with that, that brings us to the third and final period where we saw penalties occur for this game on Tuesday night. As mentioned, we are recording this on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. The game was on Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. And the last person to take a penalty in this game, Pittsburgh's third penalty of the game. It's EK65, Erik Karlsson. A 2-minute minor for high sticking, and Lightning player Gage Goncalves has the recipient of it. But it's a high sticking minor to Erik Karlsson, 3 minutes and 19 seconds in. I'm surprised that the Lightning were not able to capitalize on any of their power play opportunities, which we're going to get into in a second when we get into the game stats. But that brings us right now to our 3 stars of the hockey game. Once again, we're going to go ahead and share screen to bring you the game's 3 stars of the hockey game. All right, so who are our 3 stars of the game? And if you check this out on the Penguins Radio Network, the 3 stars of the hockey game brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We are not sponsored by that. So, with that being said, we are also not sponsored by Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination, which brings us our play of the game. Not the case for us here on Sports for Beginners and on our Penguins post-game show. We'll just give it to you. And speaking of giving it to you, we're not going to, talk about when the game started at any time zone because we would be here all day for that, depending on how long it took me to figure that out. So we're not going to worry about that. What we are going to do is just get on with it. So, our third star in Tuesday night's contest is Penguins right winger number 18, Jesse Poljavari. Jesse Poljavari. Hopefully I have that right. If I pronounce it wrong, I apologize. A goal in this game, no assists, and 1 point to show for. Anthony Cirelli is the second star of this game. That's number 71, Anthony Cirelli. Anthony Cirelli. I had it right. It's kind of going the opposite way. Anthony C, will say, for now. 1 goal, no assists, 1 point in the game. And Braden Point is your first star of the game. 2 goals, 2 points, no assists. So once again, to reiterate, your 3 stars of the game, Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, and Jesse Poljavari. Those are your 3 stars of the game. Now it's time to talk about the stat. The game stat. So here we go. And I'm going to be utilizing my phone as well for this, in case we want to talk about how many faceoffs were seen in this hockey game. All right. Here we go. So, the Penguins were outshot by the Tampa Bay Lightning in this game. 35-19. And when you look at the shots on goal by period, Tampa Bay had 10 in the first period, 12 in the second period, 12 shots on goal in the third period as well, 1 shot on goal in overtime. The Penguins had 9 shots on goal in the first period, 6 shots on goal in the second period, 4 shots on goal in the third period, and unfortunately, they were unable to get a shot on goal in overtime. This game saw 49 faceoffs, and out of 49, the Tampa Bay Lightning won 29 of those 49 faceoffs. The Penguins won 20 out of 49 faceoffs. Faceoff percentage for the Penguins, 40.8%. Faceoff percentage for the Tampa Bay Lightning, 59.2%. The Penguins spent 6 minutes in the penalty box, converted on each of their penalty kills to become 3 and 3, 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. They connected on one of their 2 power play opportunities, going 1 for 2 there with 50% good from the power play. The penalty kill for Tampa Bay, not too bad. They gave up a goal on the power play, but managed to kill off the next attempt. So their penalty kill, just like the Penguin power play, 1 for 2 on the penalty kill. Their power play, non-existent for the Lightning in this one. 0 for 3. The Penguins perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. Not exactly a bad penalty kill, or rather, a bad penalty kill for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They kill off one of the 2 penalties they face. They also managed to score a few goals. Not on the power play, but at least they got on the board. And with that said, moving along, the Lightning spent 4 minutes in the penalty box. They finished the game with 11 hits, 11 block shots, 16 giveaways, and 4 takeaways. Pittsburgh finishes the game with 15 hits, 22 blocked shots, 23 giveaways, and 2 takeaways. So to reiterate that, the hits were in favor of the Penguins, 15-11. The blocked shots were in favor of the Penguins, 22-11. I guess you could say the giveaways were in favor of the Lightning at 16-23, because the Penguins gave the puck away way too many times in this game. Way too many times the Penguins gave the puck away. way too many times. Way too many. So that's something we got to work on as the Penguins get ready to battle the Winnipeg Jets, which we'll talk about more in a couple of minutes. But there you have it. Your penalty takers, your 3 stars of the game, and your game stat. On the other side of this break from Broadcast Map, and take another look at the podcast, unless you heard that in the other break that we took before. On the other side, we go for the play of the game, and all credit if we do play an audio credit of a highlight from this game. All credit going to the rightful owners of the game broadcast on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. All credit going to the NHL, all credit going to the Penguins, and all credit going to the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. All that credit is going to that. Is going to those teams and the NHL as well. Don't go anywhere. Penguins postgame will continue with the play of the game, the shake of the game, a look at Tuesday's action, the game puck of the action from Pittsburgh between the Lightning and the Penguins. And then we'll wrap it all up in a pretty little bow after another break with what's next for Pittsburgh, what's next for Tampa Bay, all that coming up. But next, the play of the game, the shake of the game, and Tuesday's action elsewhere around the league when Penguins postgame continues. Hi, everyone. Scott McGregor here. Oh, what's that? What's that? Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? Come out and join us for the Season 3 Sports for Beginners Christmas Party Finale this December on Sports for Beginners. We'll talk about everything from our top 10 episodes, our podcast wrap up, a little bit of sports talk mixed in. Plus, I would love to know what your favorite holiday traditions are. So come on out and join us. Come on out and join us. Actually, better than that, come spend the holidays with us here on Sports for Beginners. It's certainly going to be a great show. That's Sports for Beginners Season 3 Finale Christmas Party Extravaganza coming this December on Sports for Beginners. It will be a pre-recorded program, so make sure you tune in. And if you'd like to be involved, send an email to sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. Happy holidays, everybody! From all of us here at Sports for Beginners.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Welcome back to Penguins Postgame. My name is Scott McGregor. Welcome back to Penguins Postgame. Just excuse me there when I was doing that. I was putting my hand in my sweater. Oops. That's not really what I wanted to say. Or whatever. Anyway, you get the picture if you're checking this out on video. You get the picture. With all that being said, it is time now for the play of the game. What is our play of the game? Well, first, let me just remind you guys of our final score. The Penguins were defeated by the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 in overtime. And now they won't play each other again until January 2025. Specifically, 5 p.m. Eastern on January the 12th, 2025. In the same area they played on Tuesday night, November 19th, 2024, where the final score, as we talk about that game, was 3-2 Lightning over the Penguins in overtime. Before we get down to the play of the game and the shake of the game, let's go quickly and take a look at the action from around the league in Tuesday night. What was our action like? Let's see. Elsewhere in the nation's capital of Canada, the Edmonton Oilers and the Ottawa Senators clashed in Ottawa, and Edmonton, on the strength of 2 goals scored by Connor McDavid, defeated the Ottawa Senators 5-2 in Ottawa. Also, the Winnipeg Jets picked up another W as they defeated the defending Stanley Cup champions 6-3 in Winnipeg. In the West, so the Minnesota Wild were in St. Louis, in the Music City, to take on the Blues, and they picked up a 4-2 W against the Blues. We need extra time. We need a shootout at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And the Flames come out on top of the New York Islanders in a shootout with a final score of 2-1. They pick up the W in the shootout with Andrei Kuzmenko. Andrei Kuzmenko picking up the shootout winner. After a Rasmus Anderson power play goal ties the game up at 1 goal apiece in the third period and forces overtime. Meanwhile, in the Windy City, the Ducks are in town, and they come out of Chicago with a 3-2 W over the Chicago Blackhawks. So the Penguins and the Lightning aren't the only game on Tuesday night that finished 3-2. But they're also not the only game that needed overtime. They are the only game that finished in overtime. They're not the only game that needed overtime. And like I said earlier, they are not the only game that ended in a 3-2 score. The Blackhawks fell to the Ducks of Anaheim 3-2 in the Windy City. From the Windy City to Vancouver, British Columbia, and the New York Rangers are in town against the Vancouver Canucks. And the Canucks fall. The Canucks falled. The Canucks falled. They falled to the New York Rangers by a final score of 4-3 in Vancouver. So the Vancouver Canucks fall to the New York Rangers 4-3 in Vancouver. The Calgary Flames beat the New York Islanders 2-1 in a shootout. The Anaheim Ducks defeat the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2 in the Windy City. The Minnesota Wild pick up a 4-2 W over the St. Louis Blues. The Winnipeg Jets pick up a 6-3 W over the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. And the Edmonton Oilers pick up a 5-2 W over the Ottawa Senators. And of course, in our game, the Pittsburgh Penguins fall 3-2 in overtime to the Tampa Bay Lightning. With that said, time now for the play of the game. And I could go with Pittsburgh. I could go that way. But I'm going to go to the first goal of the hockey game that put Pittsburgh on notice we're going to go back to Braden Point's opening goal to give the Penguins a 2-1 lead in the game. Again, if we're showing the highlight, which we're going to do right now, if we're showing the highlight, all credit, and I mean all credit, goes to the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Here are the men who called this game on the Tampa Bay feed. So with that being said, let's get you to the highlight for the play of the game. And I'll be back right after that highlight with the opening of the shake of the game. Enjoy the highlight here.
Teams back to even strength. It remains a 2-goal lead for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 8 shots in the man advantage tonight for the Lightning, and they've come up empty, 0 for 3. Here's Points. Points steps away from his man, walks up, backhand, scores! Braden Points with an excellent goal. Gets the Lightning on the board.
Can't get over to the far side of the ice. Look at Braden Point. See that? See, no black jersey there. There should have been a right defenseman. Now they show up, but Braden's got some speed. That caused some confusion. Pittsburgh still orienting themselves. There's the line change. They must have had a last second change of, okay, you go up, no, you get up, and yeah, it was Grizzly getting out there late, number 24, and he stops on his near side. Braden Point takes advantage of nobody coming over, and that beautiful.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. All right, everybody. I've decided we're going to move the shake of the game to the next segment. So, coming up next, we'll put a bow on this edition of Penguins postgame with what's next for Pittsburgh. What's next for the Lightning? All that and more, including the shake of the game. And we, unfortunately, will not be able to get into the game puck of the game. But we are going to utilize that for one of our next recaps, which you'll catch me talk about when we return to Penguins postgame. So the shake of the game is coming up next. And what's next for the Penguins? What's next for the Lightning? Plus, when can you next hear Thomas on Sports for Beginners running Penguins postgame? Stay tuned to find out. Back with more and wrapping up in a moment.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Welcome back to Penguins postgame. My name is Scott McGregor. It's time for the main event of this program, the shake of the game. I am, of course, your host, Scott McGregor. And I guess you guys could say you heard me twice. Because I was talking about our Christmas extravaganza happening on December the 12th. I'll be doing that on December the 12th. It actually might get recorded on the Wednesday, December 11th. We'll see where things take us. As can you believe it? Sports for Beginners Season 3 is almost over. It's almost over. Almost over. The season 3 content is almost over. Where has the time gone? Well, as they always say, time flies when you're having fun. You know what also is coming up? Join me ahead of Penguins and Canucks on Wednesday, November 27th, 2024, for the final edition of Weekly in Sports for the year. Also, the last one you will hear right here on Sports for Beginners, because in 2025, Weekly in Sports will become its own podcast. That's right. Weekly in Sport, starting in 2025, will be its own podcast. And our transition will begin in December. But because season 3 of Sports for Beginners is ending just before Christmas, as we ended the first season and the second season, does that mean I'm not going to get Penguins postgame the rest of the year for December? Absolutely not. It also means you will be getting more Buffalo Bills football. The season content may be done for the year, but the bonus content never stops coming. even though we will be transitioning to Weekly in Sports as its own podcast in 2025, and Sports for Beginners Season 4 will be beginning at a time to be determined in 2025 and a month to be determined. Specifically when the Blue Jays and all the baseball heads are back in action. Let's just say you're looking at between February and March, the return of Sports for Beginners for its 4th season. There have been a lot of bumps in the road, but we're working on it. We are working on it. So, with that all being said, that's a lot of what you can expect over these coming days for Penguins post-game. And of course, for Sports for Beginners. But it is about time for us to get ready to close this one out for Penguins postgame. The shake of the game was inspired by the Jake Guentzel Milkshake Factory ad when he was a Pittsburgh Penguin. Now that Brian Rust is the feature man on this kind of thing, anytime Brian Rust scores a goal, fans in Pittsburgh will get half off Jake Shakes the next day at, sorry, not Jake Shakes, Rusty Shakes at the Milkshake Factory the next day after the game. So if you are enjoying a Rusty Shake while you're listening to this show, let me know how it, tastes. Because here's another question I want to ask everybody. Now, I know I just asked the hockey fights cancer question off the top of the show, but here's another question I want to ask you. Which is better, a Jake Shake or a Rusty Shake? Which is better? This coming from a guy who has yet to be in Pittsburgh, to catch a game live in Pittsburgh in front of the PPG Paints Arena crowd, and has yet to have tried a Jake Shake or now a Rusty Shake. But for those who have tried it, I want to know, which is better, Rusty Shake or a Jake Shake? Which is better? Let me know. Which is better? All right, with that said, and out of the way, let's move to the shake of the game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's where we're going to start. We are going to give 2 shake of the game recipients for each team. But we're going to start with the Lightning. So the first person to receive a shake of the game is Andrei Vasilevsky. 19 shots faced, 17 saves made, 2 goals given up, 1 at even strength, and 1 on the power play. Of course, when I say power play, I mean when the Penguins were on the power play. He finishes with a save percentage of 895, I should say. 895 is the save percentage. The save percentage for Andrei Vasilevsky is 895. He was on the ice for 63 minutes and 58 seconds. Next up, we're going to go to Mr. Number 2 goals. We're going to go to Brayden Point. 2 goals in the game, 2 points, no assists. A +2 in 25 shifts and 23 minutes and 43 seconds of total ice time. Five shots on goal, 2 of them going in. The back of the net past Tristan Jarry. He registers a giveaway, no hits, no blocks, no takeaways, but he was 58% good from the faceoff dot. So, Brayden Point and Andrei Vasilevsky are the shake of the game recipients for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who's got the shake of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins? Well, number 1 is going to go to Sam Poulin. Sam Poulin did not score a goal in this game, but he got a point on an assist. Was a +1, only on the ice for 9 minutes and 49 seconds. And 12 shifts. Registers 2 giveaways, but no shots on goal, no hit, no block. Did not have any time in the face-off circle, or rather, play in the face-off circle. And no takeaways from Sam Poulin. Next up, just like we did for Tampa Bay, we're going to do the goaltender and a player for Pittsburgh. And we are going to give our second shake of the game to Tristan Jarry. 35 shots faced, 32 saves made, 3 goals allowed, both at even strength. Jarry on the ice for the same amount of time as Andrei Vasilevsky, 63 minutes and 58 seconds. Save percentage for Tristan Jarry, 914. .914 save percentage for Tristan Jarry. So there you have it. Tristan Jarry, Sam Poulin, Braden Point, and Andrei Vasilevsky are Shake of the Game recipients. So we've hit the last moments of the show. So it begs the question, who's next? For Pittsburgh, who's next for Tampa Bay? Let's go ahead and find out, shall we? I'm going to share my screen to bring that up for you. As we're going to now take a look at the schedule first for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Coming up next for the Lightning, a team who is on a 3-game winning streak after beating the Winnipeg Jets 4-1 on November 14th and shutting out the New Jersey Devils 4-0 on November the 16th. That is this past Saturday. They will be action again this Saturday as they go head-to-head with the Dallas Stars. But before that, they will go head-to-head on the road in a 2-game road trip that is currently underway and wraps up on Thursday. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Tampa Bay Lightning from Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. That's on Thursday for the Lightning. Then again, they're back in action on Saturday, the 23rd of November, where they will take on the Dallas Stars. Then they take on the Colorado Avalanche at home on Monday, this coming Monday, the 25th of November, when they will take on the Avalanche at Amalie Arena. Hopefully that's where they are going to be playing. Then they will see Alexander Ovechkin's Washington Capitals in Tampa Bay on the 27th, this next Wednesday. Game time is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And to wrap it up, that will follow a back-to-back that will start on Friday afternoon. But to wrap up the next 5, the the Tampa Bay Lightning will head out to Nashville for a showdown with the Predators after a 3-game homestand wraps up with the Capitals in town. After the Stars and the Avalanche come to town. And so the next 5 for Tampa Bay are at Columbus tomorrow night on Thursday night as we wrap this recording up here on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. For the game that went down on Tuesday, November 19th, 2024, in which the Tampa Bay Lightning increased their winning streak from 2 games to 3 games. And that next 5 for the Lightning wraps up with the beginning of a back-to-back between the Nashville Predators and the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right. So, that's what's next for the Lightning. What is next for the Black and Gold? In this case, what's next for the Pittsburgh Penguins? I have it here on my phone, but we're going to use the screen share to do this. Well, the Penguins will wrap up their November schedule with back-to-backs times 2, as they will continue their 5-game homestand with 3 games left. Just want to make sure that's right. They started their homestand on Saturday against the Sharks, defeated the Sharks in a shootout 4-3. They lost this game. Yes, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5-game homestand. 3 games left on that homestand, including a back-to-back that you will see Thomas take over on Saturday night for the Pens and the Utah Hockey Club. The Pens and the Utah Hockey Club are in action at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on November 23rd, 2024, inside of PPG Paints Arena. The Winnipeg Jets and the Vancouver Canucks are part of the next 5 here. That will see Pittsburgh try to get even with the Winnipeg Jets after Winnipeg defeated them last time. And the Penguins will be looking to avoid a sweep of their season series with the Winnipeg Jets. That game coming your way on Friday night. I will be with you on Friday night. It will be pre-recorded, but I will record only on audio. I won't record it with video. And I'll come to you with that ahead of Utah versus Pittsburgh. Probably going to get that right at puck drop or an hour or 2 away from puck drop, depending on if I record on Friday night. We will see. The Penguins will then play the Vancouver Canucks on the 27th of November to wrap up their 5-game homestand, which right now they are 1-1 on that homestand. What will the rest of the homestand look like? We're going to have to wait till Friday, Saturday, and this Wednesday's game are in the books. wrapping up the Penguins' next 5 with a showdown in the Garden between the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins at TD Garden. Game time 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Likely going to be a nationally televised game. So if you are looking for the game on a local listening, you could probably find it better by going on to WXDX FM Pittsburgh, your home of the Pens and the best Pens coverage. 1059 The X. That's WXDX FM Pittsburgh, 1059 The X. And they'll wrap it up with a home game on Hockey Night in Canada, next Hockey Night in Canada on November 30th, 2024, when they go head-to-head with the Calgary Flames, looking to get even with Vancouver, Winnipeg, and of course the Flames in their season series as these final matchups of the 2024-2025 season finish off before we hit 2025. But a couple series that the Penguins are playing in are only just beginning as we near the finish line for the year 2024. That is going to do it for this episode of Penguins Postgame. Thank you very, very much for joining us here today on the podcast. I would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Let's go, Pens! And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon. Next time on Penguins Postgame, when Thomas will be in the studio, you will see the Penguins. Oops, I turned my screen off. Oops, sorry about that. You will see the Penguins go head-to-head with the Utah Hockey Club. With the Utah Hockey Club. That is the next opponent Thomas will have for you. I will have this opponent next time on Penguins Postgame, which is our next topic of conversation. The Winnipeg Jets. The oh-so undefeated Winnipeg Jets, who are undefeated no more. We'll talk about that all to open the program ahead of getting this game broken down. Again, as I said, we are going to do it via scorers and then penalty takers when we break down the game. But again, as I said, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for checking us out. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. If you feel we've earned it, Have a great rest of your day. Let's go, Pen! And I will see you again real soon. I am Scott McGregor, saying so long for now from Penguins postgame. The Penguins were defeated by the Bolts 3-2 in overtime. See you real soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Thank you so much for checking in to Penguins postgame this season, Penguins fans. Your host of the Sports for Beginners podcast, Scott McGregor. Here, I just wanted to let you guys know that it brings me great joy to bring you a show like the one we brought you last year. And it brings me even more joy with everything that has come out of it as well, as we try to navigate through quite a year with milestone after milestone in the month of October and the month of September. As mentioned, again, my name is Scott McGregor, but if you have any questions, any concerns, any content you want aired on the program, please send me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. Once again, that's Sports for Beginners podcast 8231 at gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and for listening to this episode of Penguins Postgame. We will see you next time right here on Sports for Beginners. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.